Hi everyone, it's the last day of February, which means it's time for my wrap up. I read, oh my gosh, I didn't count. I think it's 10 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 9. But I have 10 books to talk about because I'm hoping to finish one of them today. All right. So I'll just get started with what I read. I have it all actually written down this time. So hopefully I don't get lost. Last month I forgot one. I can't remember which one it is that I forgot to talk about, but there was one last month that I forgot to talk about in my video. But that's not going to happen this time. So I'm going to dive straight in. The first one I read is Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrowski. I think that's how you pronounce it. Jedrowski. This book was all right. I gave it, I think I gave it a 3 stars. It was fine. It was a book about 2 young men falling in love in Poland post-World War II. And it's kind of about the political climate leading up to the fall of the Berlin Wall in Poland. And it was all right. I think that it started to open a lot of doors of really interesting stories it could tell and then just kind of backed off. So there were so many missed opportunities I found in this book for a really interesting story, but it just kind of stuck to something basic and it could have really done a much deeper dive. All right, the next book I read was also in my Kobo and it was Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. This book was talked about a decent amount on Instagram. So I was really excited to read it. I thought it was interesting. This is a book, it takes place contemporary England. It's about a woman who photographs men in kind of provocative positions. She really likes meeting random men on the street and luring them back to her place to take pictures of them. And this one was also all right. I didn't love it. There was some interesting twists, but overall I found the protagonist so frustrating to be in her head. Obviously, it's a book about trauma and kind of healing and reacting to it. So obviously the character isn't perfect. But she was so annoying and there was parts in that book when I thought I wouldn't be able to finish it because I couldn't stand listening to her voice anymore. So the next book I read was the first one I read a paper copy of. It's called Fake Accounts by Lauren Oyler. And I hated this book. I couldn't stand it. I had bought a hard copy. I've already gotten rid of it because I don't want it on my shelf. This is a book about a young woman in America who thinks her boyfriend is cheating on her, so she snoops through his phone, and it turns out that he's actually running a secret far-right conspiracy blog, which I thought was a really interesting premise and could have led to a really great story, but unfortunately, it didn't. The main character was also so freaking annoying. I found her even way more annoying than the character in Boy Parts. The book is full of long, rambling critiques of how people use social media and the internet. And then the main character would be very judgmental of how other people use social media, but then do the exact same things herself and thinks she gets a pass because she's so great. I couldn't stand it. The book didn't have anything interesting to say. It didn't have any interesting plot. Like, everything was very predictable. It just kind of happened in front of you and you just had to listen to her ramble. So I do not recommend Fake Accounts. It's my least favorite book of the year so far, and that's saying something because I hated some books last month. So the next book I read was Memorial by Bryan Washington, and I still gave it a 3 out of 5. It wasn't my favorite book I read, but it started the upswing. I was so disappointed with so many books the first half of this month. But this, also I was kind of disappointed with, but it started the upswing. This is a book about 2 boyfriends who live in, I think it was Texas. One of them has to go to Japan to take care of his dying father and leaves his boyfriend alone with his mother. And it's kind of, the first half of the book is kind of about the relationship between the boyfriend and the mother getting to know each other and like living together even though they've never really met. And then the second half was about the other boyfriend in Japan and his relationship with his father. And then it kind of finished with him coming home to Texas and them like kind of sorting out their issues or whatever. I thought the first half of the book was really good. It was a really interesting dynamic between a black man and a Japanese mother-in-law who have never met each other and like navigating life in Texas. But then the part in Japan got boring, and then they got back in the same place at the end, and it was also boring. These characters just kept making the same mistakes. They shouldn't have ended up together at the end. It felt like a breakup novel, but then they just kept getting back together and ignoring the problems and hoping things would get better on their own, and I was frustrated. So Memorial got a 3 out of 5. Interesting characters. Bryan Washington didn't use quotation marks when characters were speaking, which I can't stand. I'm looking at you, Sally Rooney. So not terrible. All right, the next book I read was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. And I really liked this one, finally. A good one. This is a post-apocalyptic book about a virus that wipes out 99% of the world's population. And this kind of jumps between the events leading up to civilization crumbling and then also cuts to 20 years later where there is a traveling performing arts group that goes from town to town, kind of performing Shakespeare and performing symphonies and reminding people of kind of the ways of the old world. And this was a really interesting book about your legacy and our relationships with each other and what things last and what things don't. I really like that it's a Canadian book. A lot of it took place in Canada, which I appreciated. We don't get that a lot in apocalyptic books like this. But yeah, this is definitely the first book of the month that I strongly recommend you read. After that, I read The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. I was so excited to read this book. This is the 4th installment in the Bone Season series. It's been, I think, 3 years since the last installment came out, so this had a lot of hype. But I only read them last year, so it wasn't as big of a hype for me, but I was still so excited to read this. This is definitely my favorite of the series so far. It takes place in Paris, so it's a nice new change of pace. There are lots of twists and turns. This book keeps moving so fast. So much happens in this book. The world keeps expanding. The characters keep getting more interesting. Yeah, I definitely recommend this series, especially this one. When you get to book 4, you're not going to be disappointed. All right, so the next book was City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Mortal Instruments series, the Shadowhunters world that Cassandra Clare writes. I'm going to do another video just about this series, but I'm trying to read through all of the Shadowhunters books as quickly as I can. So I started with City of Ashes because I've already read City of Bones, even though it's been a few years. But I just wanted to jump into something new. So I read City of Ashes. I didn't like it that much. The story was interesting, but I didn't think enough happened to warrant how long this book is. And also, I couldn't stand Cassandra Clare's writing. She made a lot of, I want to say, like beginner mistakes or rookie mistakes. But I've since read the third one, which is the next book I read, actually, I think, on my list. Yeah, City of Glass, which I read on my Kobo. Her writing does get better. But I talk about this more in another video that I'm going to put out at some point. So stay on the lookout for that. So like I said, the next book I read after that was City of Glass. I liked that one much better. City of Ashes was good. City of Glass was great. It took place in a different setting. It kind of wrapped up the first trilogy. And now I get to move on to Clockwork Angel, which I'm talking about here because I think I'm going to finish it today. I'm only 100 pages in, but it reads really quick. I read those first 100 pages yesterday in less than an hour, and I'm loving it so far. I'm really excited to see where this series goes and all of the different series that Cassandra Clare has made. But like I said, I'll talk about that in a later video. And the last book I read, I just finished this morning, is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I read this on my Kobo as well. And this book was amazing. This is the memoir from the Emily Doe in the Stanford rape trial of Brock Turner. She remained anonymous through the entire trial and the aftermath, but has since published her memoir, and it's incredible. She's a very talented writer. She communicates things that I don't think have ever been put into words in quite the same nuanced way before. Kind of about being a survivor and about trauma. And I thought this book was just like 10 out of 10, 5 stars. Read it. Everyone should read this book. So yeah, that's what I read this month in February. It was a short month, but I still read quite a bit. I felt like I slowed down a bit in the middle of the month when I kept reading books that I couldn't stand, but I've turned it around. I'm on track now to read some more good books. I've got so many books in my stack of books to read that I'm excited to get to. So I think March is going to be a really good wrap-up video as well. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you read this month. What was your favorite book that you read? Maybe I'll add it to my list for an upcoming month. Yeah, I've got some other videos that I'm working on. Keep on the lookout. I don't know when I'll upload them, but at some point I will. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.